Phrasal verbs 1. Up and down. Verbos con la preposición up.
To go up.
Tienes que subir a la quinta planta.
You have to go up to the 5th floor.
Subí allí ayer.
I went up there yesterday.
Él volvió a subir para coger su chaqueta.
He went back up to get his jacket.
¿Podrías subir y coger mi cartera?
Could you go up and get my wallet?
¿Por qué no subes y la coges tú mismo?
Why don't you go up and get it yourself?
¿Has subido arriba del todo?
Did you go up to the top?
Si subes a la cima, puedes ver el mar.
If you go up to the top, you can see the sea.
Ellos no subieron a la parte de arriba de la Torre Eiffel.
They didn't go up to the top of the Eiffel Tower.
Él subió al desván.
He went up to the attic.
No subas ahí arriba, está encantado.
Don't go up there. It's haunted.
Elevator trouble. Every day, Peter goes up to the 5th floor because that's where he works. When the elevator is broken, he goes up the stairs. His boss's office is on the 7th floor, and Peter often has to go up and see him. The last time he went up there, he left his phone up there, so he had to go back up and get it. He went up in the elevator, but it went up to the 10th floor and got stuck. If only Peter had gone up the stairs. To pick up.
Tengo que recoger mi traje de la tintorería.
I need to pick up my suit from the dry cleaners.
¿De dónde tienes que recogerlo?
Where do you have to pick it up from?
Debería haberlo recogido ayer.
I should have picked it up yesterday.
No me cogen el teléfono.
They're not picking up.
Recoge tus juguetes, por favor.
Pick up your toys, please.
Tengo que ir a buscarle a las 19 horas.
I have to pick him up at 7 p.m.
¿A dónde tienes que ir a buscarle?
Where do you have to pick him up from?
Tengo que recogerlo en el aeropuerto.
I have to pick him up at the airport.
¿No sería más fácil recogerlo en la estación?
Wouldn't it be easier to pick him up at the station?
Sería más fácil si no tuviera que ir a buscarle.
It would be easier if I didn't have to pick him up.
The favor. On his way home from work, Peter picked up a copy of the Times. As he was reading it, he saw an advertisement for an apartment he was interested in. He called the number, but nobody picked up, so he called his sister to have her come pick him up and take him to see the apartment. She picked him up opposite the bank and took him to the apartment. She told him that someone else would have to pick him up when he had finished because she had to go pick up some pizzas she had ordered for dinner. To climb up.
Voy a tener que subir al tejado.
I'm going to have to climb up onto the roof.
No debería subir ahí arriba sin cuerda.
You shouldn't climb up there without a rope.
¿Y si subiera ahí arriba con una escalera?
What if I climbed up there with a ladder?
¿Sabes cómo subir a una escalera?
Do you know how to climb up a ladder?
Si puedo escalar el K2, puedo subir a una escalera.
If I can climb up K2, I can climb up a ladder.
¿Cuánto tardasteis en subir a la cima del K2?
How long did it take you to climb up to the top of K2?
Subimos a la cima en 3 horas.
We climbed up to the top in 3 hours.
Mi coche no será capaz de subir esa colina.
My car won't be able to climb up that hill.
Si no estuviera tan helada, podríamos subir.
If it weren't so icy, we could climb up.
Si subimos, ¿cómo bajaremos?
If we climb up, how will we climb back down?
The ascent. Peter needs to climb up to his attic, but there aren't any stairs to climb up there with. If he had a step ladder, he could climb up there easily, but since he doesn't have one, he'll have to think of another way to climb up there. He could climb up there using a rope, but someone would have to climb up there first to secure it. After thinking about it for a while, Peter decides to build a mountain of books under the attic door and climb up it. To blow up.
Ayúdame a inflar estos globos.
Help me to blow these balloons up.
¿Cuántos inflamos?
How many should we blow up?
No los infles demasiado.
Don't blow them up too much.
Deberías hinchar ese neumático.
You should blow that tire up.
Hincha el colchón hinchable con una bomba.
Blow the air mattress up using a pump.
Pregúntale al fotógrafo si puede ampliar la foto.
Ask the photographer if he can blow the photo up.
¿Cuánto debería pedirle que la ampliara?
How much should I ask him to blow it up?
Amplíala a tamaño A3.
Blow it up to A3 size.
¿Puedes ampliar el texto un poco?
Can you blow the text up a little?
Amplíalo a 50 puntos.
Blow it up to font size 50.
Life's. It was one of Peter's co-worker's birthday, and after blowing up about 50 balloons for her, Peter wanted to blow up a photo of her to put on the door. He tried to use the photocopier to blow the photo up, but the quality wasn't very good, so he took it to a photo shop to see if they could blow it up better. They told him that they would be able to blow it up to whatever size he wanted, so he had it blown up to A4 size. His co-worker was grateful for the balloons Peter had blown up, but told him she wished he hadn't blown up such an embarrassing photo of her. To fill up.
Ella llenó su vaso de vino, de él.
She filled his glass up with wine.
No lo llenes más de la línea.
Don't fill it up past the line.
Llénalo sin plomo, por favor.
Fill it up with unleaded, please.
Cuesta mucho llenar el tanque hoy en día.
It costs a lot to fill your tank up these days.
¿Cuánto cuesta llenar un avión de combustible?
How much does it cost to fill up a plane with fuel?
Ella llenó la bañera de agua caliente.
She filled the bathtub up with hot water.
Él llenó su termo con sopa caliente.
He filled his thermos flask up with hot soup.
Las plazas del curso se están llenando rápidamente.
Course places are filling up quickly.
Como buen artista, siempre intenta llenar el lienzo.
As an artist, he always tries to fill up the canvas.
Las habitaciones en ese hotel siempre se llenan rápido.
The rooms in that hotel always fill up quickly.
Running on empty. Last week, Peter stopped at a petrol station to fill his car up. However, when he got there, he couldn't remember if he had to fill it up with diesel or with petrol. Luckily, the attendant knew Peter and reminded him that he usually filled his car up with petrol. While the attendant was filling up his car, Peter went to the bathroom and decided to fill up his water bottle while he was there. A petrol station bathroom probably wasn't the best place to fill it up, but Peter hated paying for water. To speak up.
Habla más alto, no te oímos.
Speak up, we can't hear you.
Él está bastante sordo, tendrás que hablar más alto.
He's quite deaf. You'll have to speak up.
No puede hablar más alto cuando está nerviosa.
She can't speak up when she's nervous.
Habla más alto si tienes algo que decir.
Speak up if you have something to say.
Asegúrate de hablar más alto cuando sea tu turno.
Make sure you speak up when it's your turn.
Él intentó hablar más alto, pero nadie le oía.
He tried to speak up, but nobody heard him.
Habló más alto para que la fila de atrás pudiera oírla.
She spoke up so the back row could hear her.
¿Quieres que hable un poco más alto?
Would you like me to speak up a little?
Si hablo más alto, estaré gritando.
If I speak up any more, I'll be shouting.
Si no hablas más alto, nadie podrá oírte.
If you don't speak up, no one will be able to hear you.
Last Saturday, Peter went to the theater, but he couldn't hear the actors because they didn't speak up enough. After the first act, the audience at the back of the theater shouted at the actors to speak up, but even then, no one could hear them. By the second act, the audience was so angry at the actors for not speaking up that they started throwing things onto the stage. After the performance, it was discovered that the poor actors hadn't been speaking up because they were mime artists. To speed up.
El coche de policía aceleró para coger al ladrón.
The police car speeded up to catch the robber.
El ladrón aceleró para escapar.
The robber speeded up to get away.
Si aceleras más, te pondrán una multa.
If you speed up any more, you'll get a ticket.
Acelera.
Speed up.
Ojalá fuera más rápido.
I wish he'd speed up.
Aceleremos las cosas un poco.
Let's speed things up a little.
Se le aceleró la respiración.
His breathing speeded up.
Los ordenadores han acelerado el proceso.
Computers have speeded up the process.
¿Cómo podemos acelerar el proceso más?
How can we speed the process up more?
Esperemos que pueda acelerar las cosas.
Let's hope he can speed things up.
When Peter saw he was late for work again, he speeded up and got to his car in record time. Once he was out of the garage, Peter stepped on the accelerator and his car speeded up. Unfortunately, Peter had speeded up so much that he didn't see the police car signaling him to pull over, and the police car had to speed up to catch Peter's car. Peter knew that he was going to get a ticket, but he wished the policeman would speed the process up so that he could get to work. Turn up.
Pon la tele más fuerte, no la oigo.
Turn the TV up, I can't hear it.
No subas tanto la música.
Don't turn the music up so loud.
¿Podría subir el ventilador? Hace calor.
Could you turn up the fan? It's hot.
Ella subió el volumen de su móvil.
She turned up the volume on her mobile phone.
¿Podría subir la calefacción? Tengo frío.
Can you turn the heating up? I'm cold.
No la subas a más de 20 grados.
Don't turn it up higher than 20 degrees.
Sube la radio, están echando el partido.
Turn the radio up, the game's on.
Él subió el horno a 350 grados.
He turned the oven up to 350 degrees.
Nadie subió el volumen del micrófono.
Nobody turned the microphone up.
Si subes tu MP3 más, te quedarás sordo.
If you turn your MP3 player up any more, you'll go deaf.
Radio star. When Peter wants to turn his TV up, all he has to do is push a button on the remote control. Unfortunately, last Saturday he couldn't turn up the volume because he had lost the remote control. He wasn't worried because he thought there was a way to turn it up manually. But his TV was a new one, and without the remote control it was impossible to turn up the volume. This couldn't have happened at a worse time, since there was a football match on TV. In the end, Peter turned up the radio to be able to listen to it while he watched the match on TV. Break up.
¿Oíste que él ha roto con su novia?
Did you hear he broke up with his girlfriend?
¿Por qué rompieron?
Why did they break up?
¿Cuándo rompieron?
When did they break up?
¿Quién rompió con quién?
Who broke up with who?
La banda se separó después de la gira.
The band broke up after their tour.
El matrimonio de Smith se rompió después de 15 años.
Smith's marriage broke up after 15 years.
¿Por qué se dispersó la multitud?
Why did the crowd break up?
Ella le envió una carta para romper con él.
She sent him a letter to break up with him.
Se separaron y se fueron por caminos diferentes.
They broke up and went their separate ways.
Hay muchas rupturas de pareja después del verano.
There are a lot of breakups after summer.
The Twerps. Peter's favorite band, the Twerps, were playing a concert near his house. Rumour had it that they were going to break up after the concert, so Peter was keen to see it. He had been planning to go with his friend Larry, but Larry had just broken up with his girlfriend and didn't want to go any more. In the end, Peter went alone, and after the show he decided to wait until the crowd had broken up to ask the band if they were really breaking up or not. They told him that the concert had been such a big success that they might not break up after all. To end up.
Él terminó casándose con ella.
He ended up marrying her.
Acabaron en Timbuktu.
They ended up in Timbuktu.
¿Cómo demonios acabaron allí?
How on earth did they end up there?
Ella bebió demasiado y acabó en el hospital.
She drank too much and ended up in hospital.
No quiero terminar como ella.
I don't want to end up like her.
El pobre tío acabó sin hogar.
The poor guy ended up homeless.
El viaje terminó costando más de lo que pensaron.
The trip ended up costing more than they thought.
¿Cómo hemos acabado aquí?
How did we end up here?
Terminaron bailando toda la noche.
They ended up dancing all night.
Ella acabó uniéndose a un circo ambulante.
She ended up joining a traveling circus.
Hitchhikers. When Peter was at university, he and a friend hitchhiked across Europe. They started in Paris and ended up getting a ride all the way to Frankfurt, where they ended up sleeping in a park. The next morning, they jumped on the back of a lorry and, 3 days later, ended up in Budapest. There, they were so tired and hungry that they ended up checking into a hotel for the night. The room only had one bed, and Peter ended up sleeping on the floor. The trip ended up taking them a total of 2 weeks. To give up.
¿Cuándo vas a dejar de fumar?
When are you going to give up smoking?
Ya he intentado dejarlo 2 veces.
I've already tried to give up twice.
¿Cómo conseguiste dejarlo?
How did you manage to give up?
¿No crees que ella debería dejar de beber?
Don't you think she should give up drinking?
Él fue despedido porque no podía dejar de beber.
He was fired because he couldn't give up drinking.
Si tuvieras que dejar un vicio, ¿cuál sería?
If you had to give up one vice, what would it be?
Él es demasiado débil para dejar nada.
He's too weak-minded to give anything up.
He dejado la comida rápida para siempre.
I've given up fast food for good.
¿Por qué dejó ella la gimnasia?
Why did she give up gymnastics?
Él dejó de tocar en una banda para ser médico.
He gave up playing in a band to become a doctor.
New Year's resolutions. Before the start of every new year, Peter makes a New Year's resolution. They always have to do with giving up some sort of bad habit. 3 years ago, he had sworn to give up junk food, and last year he had tried to give up drinking beer. The problem was that he could only manage to give these things up for a month or 2 before relapsing. This year, Peter is determined not to fail, so he has decided to give up making New Year's resolutions. To hang up.
Ella colgó el teléfono y se fue a la cama.
She hung up the phone and went to bed.
Sonó otra vez justo después de que ella colgara.
It rang again right after she had hung up.
Colgaron en cuanto ella contestó al teléfono.
They hung up as soon as she answered the phone.
Asegúrate de que colgaste bien el teléfono.
Make sure you hung up the phone properly.
Él colgó después del 10º tono.
He hung up after the 10th ring.
¿Te han colgado alguna vez el teléfono?
Have you ever been hung up on?
Nunca me han colgado el teléfono.
I've never been hung up on.
Steve suele colgar el teléfono a los vendedores.
Steve usually hangs up on telemarketers.
Finalmente, él colgó sus botas a los 47 años.
He finally hung up his boots at the age of 47.
Debería haberlas colgado hace una década.
He should have hung them up a decade ago.
Don't get hung up. Peter had just hung up the phone when it rang again. He picked it up, but the person on the other end hung up without saying a word. This wasn't the first time someone had hung up on Peter, so he decided to call the phone company to see if they could trace the call. He dialed the number, but nothing happened, so he hung up and tried again. This time the phone just rang and rang, so Peter hung up again. On the third try, a woman from the customer service department picked up, but she was so rude that Peter hung up on her. Up. To use up.
¿Para cuándo tienes que haber gastado tus días de vacaciones?
When do you have to use up your holiday days by?
Tienes que gastarlos antes de que termine el año.
You have to use them up before the end of the year.
Gastó toda la batería.
It used up all the battery.
No podemos permitirnos gastar todas las reservas.
We can't afford to use all our supplies up.
Los coches viejos gastan más gasolina que los nuevos.
Older cars use up more petrol than newer ones.
¿Has gastado todo el champú?
Did you use up all the shampoo?
Todos nuestros recursos se han acabado.
All our resources are used up.
He utilizado las sobras de anoche para hacer una sopa.
I used up the leftovers from last night to make a soup.
¿Quién ha gastado el papel higiénico?
Who used up all the toilet paper?
Pide más en cuanto se haya acabado.
Order some more as soon as it's all been used up.
Peter, phone home. Peter still had 2 weeks of holiday to use up, so he decided to use them up on a trip to Canada. Unfortunately, he had already used up all his air miles, so he had to pay full price for his plane ticket. On his last day there, he wanted to call home, but he had used up all the credit on his phone, and he couldn't use a payphone because he'd already used up all his Canadian coins. To wake up.
Hace falta mucho ruido para despertarme.
It takes a lot of noise to wake me up.
Ella se despertó antes que los demás.
She woke up before everyone else.
Cuando se despertó, estaba oscuro.
When he woke up, it was dark.
Nunca me despierto antes de las 7.
I never wake up before 7 a.m.
Nos despertamos al cantar de los pájaros.
We woke up to the birds singing.
Nos despertó la tormenta.
The storm woke us up.
Cállate o despertarás al bebé.
Be quiet, or you'll wake the baby up.
Me gustaría que me despertaran a las 8 de la mañana.
I'd like to be woken up at 8 a.m.
Se fue a dormir y nunca se despertó.
He went to sleep and never woke up.
¡Despiértate!
Wake up!
Wakey, wakey. When Peter woke up, he almost had a heart attack. It was 10 a.m. and he should have woken up at 7 a.m. He couldn't understand why his alarm clock Wakey, wakey. When Peter woke up, he almost had a heart attack. It was 10 a.m. and he should have woken up at 7 a.m. He couldn't understand why his alarm clock hadn't woken him up. Nevertheless, he got up, showered, and drank 2 large cups of coffee to help him wake up. He decided to wake up his neighbor to ask him for a ride to work. Peter's neighbor wasn't happy to be woken up, and even less so on a Saturday morning. No wonder Peter's alarm clock hadn't woken him up. To wait up.
¿Puedes esperarme levantado? No tengo las llaves.
Can you wait up for me? I don't have my keys.
No esperaré levantado más tarde de las 2.
I won't wait up any later than 2 a.m.
Él esperó levantado tanto como pudo.
He waited up as long as he could.
Ella le esperó levantada, pero él nunca volvió a casa.
She waited up for him, but he never came home.
Esperaron levantados hasta que ella llegó a casa.
They waited up until she came home.
No te molestes en esperar levantado. Llegaré tarde.
Don't bother waiting up. I'll be late.
Llevo esperándote levantado toda la noche.
I've been waiting up all night for you.
No puedo esperar levantado más.
I can't wait up anymore.
Te dije que no me esperaras levantado.
I told you not to wait up for me.
Sus padres le esperaron levantados.
His parents waited up for him.
To wait or not to wait. Peter's sister had asked him to look after her children while she went to the theatre. Peter thought she would be back early, so he decided to wait up for her. The children wanted to wait up for her too, and since Peter thought they wouldn't have to wait up long, he let them. At 11:30 p.m., they had been waiting up for almost 3 hours, and Peter was worried. He told the children that they couldn't wait up any more because it was past their bedtime. Peter wondered how much longer he would have to wait up for his sister. To stay up.
Dejaron a los niños quedarse levantados.
They let the children stay up.
Ella se quedó levantada hasta que salió el sol.
She stayed up until the sun came up.
Nos quedaremos levantados toda la noche.
We'll stay up all night.
Antes nos quedábamos levantados hasta tarde.
We used to stay up until late.
¿Por qué te quedas despierto hasta tan tarde?
Why do you stay up so late?
Intenté quedarme despierto, pero no pude.
I tried to stay up, but I couldn't.
No te quedes levantado toda la noche, ¿vale?
Don't stay up all night, okay?
Se quedó levantado todo lo que pudo.
He stayed up as long as he could.
¿Con qué frecuencia te quedas despierto hasta tarde?
How often do you stay up late?
Nunca me quedo despierto hasta tarde.
I never stay up late.
Like a baby. When Peter was a child, his parents never let him stay up late, except on New Year's Eve, and he was always trying to make up excuses to stay up past his bedtime. Now that Peter is a grown-up and he can stay up as late as he wants, he never stays up very late. Except, of course, on New Year's Eve. But even then, he only manages to stay up just long enough to see the clock strike midnight. To get up.
Esta mañana me levanté a las 6.
I got up at 6 o'clock this morning.
¿Por qué te levantaste tan pronto?
Why did you get up so early?
Tuve que levantarme pronto para limpiar el piso.
I had to get up early to clean my flat.
Necesito una hora para levantarme por la mañana.
I need an hour to get up in the morning.
Ella debe haberse levantado con el pie izquierdo.
She must have gotten up on the wrong side of the bed.
Él no pudo levantarse esta mañana.
He couldn't get up this morning.
¿Le gusta levantarse tan pronto?
Does he like to get up so early?
¡Levántate!
Get up!
Bebí agua antes de levantarme.
I drank some water before I got up.
Ella se levantó tarde y perdió el autobús.
She got up late and missed her bus.
Sleepyhead. Peter always has trouble getting up in the morning, and often gets up later than he should. He needs to set 2 alarm clocks just to make sure he gets up. Getting up would be easier if he didn't stay up so late, and even when he finally does get up, he's still half asleep. On weekends, Peter gets up whenever he wakes up, which is usually after lunchtime. To catch up.
Él nunca le alcanzará. Está muy atrás.
You'll never catch up with him. He's too far behind.
Sigue adelante. Te alcanzará en un minuto.
Go ahead. I'll catch up in a minute.
No les dejes ponerse a nuestro nivel.
Don't let them catch up with us.
Tiene que ponerse al nivel del resto de la clase.
He has to catch up with the rest of the class.
Cuando ella le alcanzó estaba sin aliento.
When she caught up with him, she was out of breath.
Si se va ahora, les alcanzará.
If he leaves now, he'll catch them up.
Él paró para dejar que ella le alcanzara.
He stopped to let her catch up.
Ese país se está poniendo al nivel del resto.
That country is catching up with the rest.
Si él no nos alcanza pronto, tendremos que parar.
If he doesn't catch up soon, we'll have to stop.
La policía le alcanzó en la frontera.
The police caught up with him at the border.
Catch your breath. It was the final Formula One race of the season, and Peter's favorite driver, Otto van Lipshine, was in last place. If he didn't catch up with the rest of the drivers, he would lose everything. With 20 laps to go, he had caught up to the fifth-place driver and only needed to catch up to the third-place driver to become world champion. With 5 laps to go, Otto had caught up with the third-place driver and looked to have sealed victory when suddenly, on the final lap, the driver in fourth place caught up with Otto and overtook him. To come up.
La Navidad se está acercando.
Christmas is coming up soon.
Nos estamos acercando a mi salida.
We're coming up to my exit.
¿No dijo Juan que se está acercando su cumpleaños?
Didn't Juan say his birthday is coming up?
Acércate al podio para recibir tu premio.
Come up to the podium to receive your prize.
Es casi medianoche.
It's coming up to midnight.
No le gusta cuando los extraños se acercan a él.
He doesn't like it when strangers come up to him.
Nos estamos acercando a las elecciones primarias.
We're coming up to the primary elections.
Durante la inundación, el agua nos llegaba a las rodillas.
During the flood, the water came up to our knees.
No nos oyeron acercarnos por detrás.
They didn't hear us come up behind them.
Hay una buena película justo después del telediario.
There's a good movie coming up right after the news.
The short arm of the law. When Peter was at the bakery, a friend of his came up to him to remind him that his parents' anniversary was coming up soon. On his way to the shopping centre to buy a gift, a police car came up behind Peter's car and flashed its lights. Peter stopped and waited as a policeman slowly came up to his car. Peter was shocked to see that the policeman was so short he didn't even come up to the window. To go up.
Acércate a ella y pregúntele si quiere bailar.
Go up to her and ask her if she wants to dance.
Él se acercó a un policía para preguntar unas direcciones.
He went up to a policeman to get directions.
¿A que no te atreves a acercarte a él?
I dare you to go up to him.
Ella se acercó a él para conseguir un autógrafo.
She went up to him to get his autograph.
El chico se acercó al profesor llorando.
The boy went up to the teacher crying.
Acerquémonos a ella juntos.
Let's go up to her together.
¿Por qué no quieres acercarte solo?
Why don't you want to go up alone?
No puede acercarse a ella sin ponerse colorado.
He can't go up to her without blushing.
¿Qué hace cuando ella se acerca a él?
What does he do when she goes up to him?
Ella nunca se ha acercado a él.
She has never gone up to him.
Go for it. Peter was trying to get up the courage to go up to a beautiful woman who worked in his office. He had been wanting to go up to her for months, but he hadn't been able to find the right moment. He had never had problems going up to women before, but this time he couldn't think of what he would say when he went up to her. At lunch, Peter finally went up to her at the water cooler and asked her if she would like to have dinner later. She agreed, and Peter quickly went up to one of his colleagues to tell him the good news. To make up.
No me lo estoy inventando.
I'm not making it up.
Suena como una palabra inventada.
It sounds like a made-up word.
¿Por qué él se lo inventaría?
Why would he make it up?
No te inventes excusas.
Don't make up excuses.
Ella se inventa muchas cosas.
She makes a lot of things up.
Tienes que inventar una excusa mejor que esa.
You need to make up a better excuse than that.
Si no sabes la respuesta, invéntate una.
If you don't know the answer, make one up.
Ella era genial inventando historias.
She was great at making up stories.
Él se inventa todos sus chistes.
He makes up all of his jokes.
¡Qué mentiroso! Se lo inventó todo.
What a liar! He made everything up.
Stage fright. Many people consider Peter to be quite funny, and even he admits that he has a great ability to make up jokes at the most opportune times. But when one of his friends signed him up in a talent show, Peter started making up excuses why he couldn't do it. He had no trouble making up jokes around his friends because he knew them, but in front of an audience, he was sure he couldn't make up any good ones. On the day of the show, Peter hadn't made up a good enough excuse to stay at home, so he sat down and started making up new material. To draw up.
Están redactando la propuesta en este momento.
They're drawing the proposal up as we speak.
¿Están redactando un nuevo contrato también?
Are they drawing up a new contract too?
¿Cuándo estará redactado el acuerdo final?
When will the final agreement be drawn up?
Que redacten algo rápido.
Have them draw up something quickly.
Los planes fueron elaborados el año pasado.
The plans were drawn up last year.
¿Quién los elaboró?
Who drew them up?
Están intentando elaborar un borrador.
They're trying to draw up a draft.
Voy a redactar mi testamento yo mismo.
I'm going to draw up my will myself.
Más vale que dejes que lo redacte un abogado.
You'd better let a lawyer draw it up.
Smith dijo que redactaría una lista.
Smith said he'd draw up a list.
Drawing straws. Peter has been chosen to draw up the new annual budget. The guy who drew it up last year didn't draw it up very well and was fired. Peter drew up a list of people who could help him draw up the budget well. His plan was to draw up a draft of the budget first. If he drew it up well, he would probably get promoted. If he didn't draw it up well, he would probably have to call a solicitor to draw up his will. to come up with.
¿Se os ha ocurrido alguna sugerencia?
Have you come up with any suggestions?
Nunca se me ocurren grandes ideas.
I never come up with great ideas.
¿Se te ha ocurrido algo alguna vez?
Have you ever come up with anything?
Se les ocurrió su propia propuesta.
They came up with their own proposal.
La fecha límite para proponer algo es el viernes.
The deadline to come up with something is Friday.
No se nos ha ocurrido mucho.
We haven't come up with much.
¿Cómo vamos a proponer más ideas?
How are we going to come up with more ideas?
Él perderá su trabajo si no se le ocurre algo.
He'll lose his job if he doesn't come up with something.
Se le ocurren las mentiras más increíbles.
He comes up with the most incredible lies.
¿Qué se ha propuesto hasta ahora?
What have they come up with so far?
Friend in need. If only Peter could come up with a gift idea for his girlfriend's birthday. But everything he comes up with is either too expensive or too dull. He's asked all his friends and family to help him come up with something, but no one has been able to. He has until the 15th to come up with something, but since today is the 11th, time is not on his side. The last thing Peter wants is to have to come up with an excuse why he couldn't come up with a good idea for a present. To take up.
Voy a empezar karate.
I'm going to take up karate.
¿Por qué no empiezas a hacer algo más interesante?
Why don't you take up something more interesting?
Smith empezó clases de guitarra el mes pasado.
Smith took up guitar lessons last month.
Él empieza un hobby nuevo cada 6 meses.
He takes up a new hobby every 6 months.
El año pasado, él empezó a hacer tiro con arco y boxeo.
Last year, he took up archery and boxing.
¿Quién sabe qué empezará a hacer después?
Who knows what he'll take up next?
Apuesto a que empieza a hacer baile.
I bet he takes up dancing.
Empezaré a hacer yoga si tú lo haces.
I'll take up yoga if you do.
¿Empezaste a hacerlo para impresionarla?
Did you take it up to impress her?
¿Cuándo empezaste a hacerlo?
When did you take it up?
Sink or swim. When Peter was a child, he loved sports and he took up as many as he could. Apart from taking up football and golf, he also took up swimming. He took up swimming because he had seen diving on TV and he wanted to take it up. But since he couldn't swim, he had to take up swimming first. In the end, he never took up diving because he got bored of swimming and took up horse riding. All of these sports were expensive and his parents had to take up second jobs to pay for them all. To set up.
Montaron su propia empresa la primavera pasada.
They set up their own company last spring.
La montaron bastante rápidamente.
They set it up pretty quickly.
¿Podrías ayudarme a montar la tienda de campaña?
Could you help me set up the tent?
Sin las instrucciones no podremos montarla.
Without the instructions, we won't be able to set it up.
¿No has montado nunca una tienda antes?
Haven't you ever set up a tent before?
La policía estableció barricadas a lo largo de la calle.
The police set up barricades along the road.
Montaron el equipo de sonido rápidamente.
They set up the sound equipment quickly.
Llámame cuando todo esté establecido.
Call me when everything is set up.
Quieren que él monte una nueva oficina.
They want him to set up a new office.
Él solo no podrá montar una oficina.
He won't be able to set up an office by himself.
Ready, set, go! Peter is planning to set up his own art gallery, but he doesn't know how to set one up. A lot of people he knows have set up their own businesses, but all of them are too busy now to help him set his up. As he wanted to set it up as soon as possible, Peter arranged a meeting with a company specialized in setting up new companies. His goal was to have the gallery set up by the end of the year. To start up.
El negocio que él montó se fue a la bancarrota.
The business he started up went bankrupt.
Él no tenía suficiente capital inicial.
He didn't have enough start-up capital.
Él está intentando montar una cafetería.
He's trying to start up a coffee shop.
No arranques el motor hasta que yo lo diga.
Don't start up the engine until I say so.
Si no arranca, dale una patada.
If it doesn't start up, kick it.
¿Cuánto dinero necesitaré para montar una franquicia?
How much money will I need to start up a franchise?
Es difícil establecer una conversación con ella.
It's difficult to start up a conversation with her.
¿Cómo la establecerías?
How would you start one up?
Estoy pensando en montar un club nuevo.
I'm thinking about starting up a new club.
¿Te harías socio si montara uno?
Would you join if I started one up?
A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. One of Peter's friends started up a bird-watching club and asked Peter to join. Peter admired his friend for wanting to start up a bird-watching club. He liked birds and thought he could start up some interesting conversations with the other members, so he joined. On the first excursion, he started up a conversation with a woman who was starting up her own advertising agency. She needed money to start it up, which was why she was starting up conversations with potential investors. To sign up.
La fecha límite para matricularse es mañana.
The deadline to sign up is tomorrow.
Menos mal que me matriculé la semana pasada.
It's a good thing I signed up last week.
Él se ha apuntado a clases de italiano.
He has signed up for Italian lessons.
¿Leíste la letra pequeña antes de apuntarte?
Did you read the small print before you signed up?
Si la hubiera leído, no me habría apuntado.
If I'd read it, I wouldn't have signed up.
¿Era gratis apuntarse?
Was it free to sign up?
Si te apuntas antes del día 15, es gratis.
If you sign up before the 15th, it's free.
Puedes matricularte en Internet.
You can sign up on the internet.
No estoy seguro de querer matricularme ahora.
I'm not sure I want to sign up now.
Ella está apuntada en el curso más avanzado.
She is signed up for the most advanced course.
Like a fish out of water. One of Peter's friends had signed up for a business studies course at the local university and asked Peter if he wanted him to sign him up too. Although Peter thought that signing up would improve his CV, he wanted to sign up for something a little more interesting than business classes. After making a few calls, he made up his mind that he was going to sign up for scuba diving classes. The only problem was that he would need to get someone else to sign up with him to be his scuba diving partner. To back up.
¿Por qué no me apoyaste?
Why didn't you back me up?
Si te hubiera apoyado, habría perdido mi trabajo.
If I'd backed you up, I would have lost my job.
No esperes que él te apoye la próxima vez.
Don't expect him to back you up next time.
Si ellos no te creen, yo te apoyaré.
If they don't believe you, I'll back you up.
Ella te apoyará si se lo pides.
She'll back you up if you ask her to.
¿Cómo le vas a apoyar?
How are you going to back him up?
Apóyame en esto, por favor.
Back me up on this, please.
Nos apoyaremos el uno al otro.
We'll back each other up.
¿Por qué debería él apoyarla?
Why should he back her up?
¿Le apoyarías a él si él te lo pidiera?
Would you back him up if he asked you to?
A phone call. When the police asked Peter where he had been on Friday night, he told them he had been at home alone, but that he didn't have anyone to back up his alibi. They told him that without anyone to back him up, he would have to go to the police station with them. Peter was sure there was someone who could back his story up, but the question was who. Just then, he remembered that he had made several phone calls to his sister's house before he had gone to bed. His sister couldn't back him up since she hadn't answered the phone, but the phone records would back up his story. Dress up.
¿Vas a disfrazarte para la fiesta de Halloween?
Are you going to dress up for the Halloween party?
Voy a disfrazarme de Superman.
I'm dressing up as Superman.
Te disfrazaste de Superman el año pasado.
You dressed up as Superman last year.
¿De qué vas a disfrazarte?
What are you going to dress up as?
Todos los empleados deben ir elegantes.
All employees must dress up.
¿Vas elegante a trabajar?
Do you dress up for work?
Voy elegante a las reuniones.
I dress up for meetings.
¿No deberías ir elegante siempre?
Shouldn't you dress up all the time?
No puedo ir elegante todo el tiempo.
I can't dress up all the time.
Asegúrate de ir elegante a la fiesta.
Make sure you dress up for the party.
Christmas dress. The Christmas party invitation said dress up, and Peter thought it meant in a costume. He went dressed up as an elf, but when he got there, he saw that everyone else was dressed up in tuxedos. When the other guests asked him why he was dressed up as an elf, he said it was because elves didn't know that to dress up had two meanings. At least he would know what to dress up as for the Halloween party. To look up.
Busca la palabra en el diccionario.
Look up the word in the dictionary.
Ella buscó la palabra para comprobar la ortografía.
She looked up the word to check the spelling.
Subraya la palabra y búscala luego.
Underline the word and look it up later.
Estoy seguro de que he buscado esa palabra antes.
I'm sure I've looked that word up before.
Si no tienes diccionario, búscala en Internet.
If you don't have a dictionary, look it up online.
Búscalo en la enciclopedia.
Look it up in the encyclopedia.
Busca su número de teléfono en la guía.
Look up his phone number in the phone book.
¿Hay alguien que siga buscando cosas en los libros?
Does anyone still look things up in books?
La mayoría de la gente busca cosas en Internet ahora.
Most people look things up on the internet now.
La biblioteca es un buen sitio donde buscar información.
A library is a good place to look up information.
Look it up. Peter had to write an email in Spanish, but since his Spanish wasn't very good, he needed to look up a lot of vocabulary. His dictionary was okay for looking up basic vocabulary, but it was a pocket dictionary, and a lot of the more complicated words he tried to look up weren't in it. Peter desperately needed a better dictionary, so he got online and looked up the phone number of a bookshop near his house. It was then that he realized that if he could look up phone numbers on the internet, he could look up Spanish vocabulary too.
Yeah.
Have they made up? To make up.
¿Se han reconciliado ya?
Have they made up yet?
No se reconciliarán hasta que él diga que lo siente.
They won't make up until he says he's sorry.
Das un beso y haced las paces.
Kiss and make up.
Ojalá ella se reconcilie con él pronto.
I wish she would make up with him soon.
Se reconciliarán cuando estén preparados.
They'll make up when they're ready.
¿Se reconciliaron antes de irse de vacaciones?
Did they make up before they went on holiday?
¿Qué le hará falta para reconciliarse con ella?
What will it take for him to make up with her?
Tardaron mucho tiempo en reconciliarse.
It took them a long time to make up.
Será mejor que se reconcilien antes de Navidad.
They had better make up before Christmas.
Él vino a casa e hicieron las paces.
He came home and they made up.
The argument. Peter always gets into arguments with his neighbour, but in the end they always make up. In fact, it is Peter who usually makes up with his neighbour and not the other way round. However, last Thursday the argument had been so heated that Peter wasn't willing to make up with his neighbour. He would wait until his neighbour was ready to make up with him. What Peter didn't know was that his neighbour was expecting him to knock on the door any minute and make up, like he always did.